and build something from the ground up, and years later can drive by that particular development, look up and go, wow, I built this. And that's a legacy that you and your family can be proud of. So how did Bryan Haggard Land Group come into fruition? Well, it dates all the way back, really, before I was in college. Back when I was at TCU, I ended up majoring in advertising and public relations. I really wanted to carve out my own path kind of in my life. I'm sitting there at an advertising agency, and I really learned how to integrate myself into a team environment because everybody had specialties. I've always kind of had a little bit of an entrepreneur spirit to myself. I always thought a little bit further outside the box. After a couple of years at Southwest Media Group, I moved on to advertising sales at a group called HRP and ended up working on the sales side. And shortly thereafter, I really kind of lost my passion for what the advertising industry had for me. I just didn't feel that when I woke up in the morning, I was very passionate about what I was doing. And that was probably around 2007. So in 2007, I started talking to different folks in the real estate industry. I ended up talking with a couple of residential folks. I ended up talking with some commercial real estate people. I talked with some home builders. And then I kind of came and looped back around to our family. And our family had been in real estate for a long time. We started off as farmers. We ended up selling off parcels of land, trading those into income-producing properties or, trading into other assets in real estate. And I've kind of always surrounded myself with, or I've always been surrounded with talks of real estate my entire life. I ended up talking with my uncle, Rodney Haggard, who's also a partner of Bryan Haggard Land Group. And legacy is a really big deal. I was never in a position where I felt like I was forced to be, in real estate, but now the time had come to really start sitting down to think about what career I wanted to do in my life. I was 27 years old. I had a good head on my shoulders. I had some great background in, marketing and advertising and those types of things. Where was my passion really going to lie? I've got this entrepreneur spirit that I really wanted to delve into. So I teamed up with my uncle. So when I ended up teaming up with the family at the bottom of the barrel on real estate, that aspect of the business where you have to deal with property management, and that means fixing carpet, fixing plumbing, and coordinating all the contractors to come in and change over tenants, and also leasing, so walking and doing tours for residential houses. But at the same time, I was lucky enough to be brought into a situation where when we would develop or sell a piece of land, I was able to dive into some of those city meetings. And what I learned early on was when we went into some of those city meetings, my uncle had every single consultant there in those city meetings to rely on, putting the experts in the room. I didn't realize this. Years later, that's how I started to become successful. You always want to surround yourself with experienced people that are a lot better at what they do than you know. So several years after that, this was probably around 2014, 2015, ended up doing quite a bit of land transactions with some multifamily group and build for rent group. Ended up really digging into some of the site selection for them. Started to spend a lot of my time was on the land side. And it really gave me that passion and drive that I really was searching for early on in my career. Jumping into the land side, really bringing together all the civil engineers and all the consultants, that's really the value that we bring. Whether, it's building houses or bringing multifamily or some experiential retail and maybe a movie theater or something like that everybody can enjoy, that brings that legacy mark that really is the headline of our company, Building Texas Legacy. That's not only for a landowner who wants to create a legacy for themselves and their family, but it's also for a developer who comes in and builds something from the ground up, and years later can drive by that particular development, look up and go, wow, I built this. And that's a legacy that you and your family can be proud of. Again, like I said before, if you're the smartest person in the room, there's something wrong. We specialize in the deal. We can underwrite the deal. We can search for the deal. We've got the relationships, really long-standing relationships with a lot of the people that own land around here. We've been around for so long, and we try to nurture relationships as we build those from either cold calling, networking. So you say you have a 100-acre site. Well, there's a lot of different uses that you can do within that 100-acre site. You have to be very, very careful on what you propose because you have to go through the city process. If it's not zoned, you've got to make sure that the future land use plan, it's allowable. And that's where you bring your consultants in and your land planners and your civil engineers, and then you bring the users in and you bring them in early and you really activate this track to be able to help out a certain section of the community. That's what gets me out of bed every morning. Not only for my family, but for those that I serve every single day. So that's why we started the company, to really pass along things to the next generation and to really help people formulate their own legacy, just like we were able to build ours. And we always say it, we want to always do something that we can be proud of, and we want to make sure that you guys will be proud of it as well.